Uh, Good morning to everyone who's in attendance today here. My name is Melvin Mdluli, and I'm the host of the Flavour Forum. I would like to also introduce our panel for today, and I will start with Zama Nwane Mahlanza, who is a candidate PhD student at the University of Johannesburg. And the other thing that I just want to let you know, I just have to tell everyone this, is that we are recording this. This session, and we will be putting the recording up on our YouTube channel. So just so that everyone who is in attendance is aware that we will be recording this and putting it up in our YouTube channel. Okay, so back to the introductions. Okay, so I just want to go through Zama's bio quickly. So Zama Nwane Mahlanza is a PhD candidate in food technology at the University of Johannesburg, Department of the Biotechnology and Food Technology Center for Innovative Food Research. Her research focus areas are indigenous food sources, food processing techniques, nutritional and functional characterization, new product development, and sensory analysis. Her current research project is the development of instant food products and 3D printed snacks using indigenous and underutilized food sources in Africa. Committed to bringing science and industry by transforming local raw materials into innovative value-added foods that enhance health, promote food security, and support sustainable development. Welcome, Zama.
Thank you very much, Melvin.
And I'd also like to introduce our second panelist for today, who is Neliswa. And Neliswa is the founder and is the founder of Melinthia Wellness. And Melinthia Wellness is a business that supplies instant porridges that are sorghum and moringa based. They currently offer a range of 3, which are banana, strawberry, and a vanilla variant. Neliswa is also a philanthropist and other interests that she basically has. She's well-traveled and basically decided to take up this quest that we all on of bringing to the fore African ingredients. Welcome, Neliswa.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Okay. So how we'll kick off our discussion is that I just want to find out from the both of you, and I will start with Zama. What inspired you to work with African or indigenous ingredients? What triggered you to basically get involved in that?
I hope everybody can hear me properly. But from my side of things, it actually started from childhood, from an early age, because at home we used to have, in my community back home, in the township, we have like a community plot where everybody gardens. So I think my interest and inspiration stemmed from that childhood background that made me grow interest in this certain area. So I feel like well, a lot of my research work and what I'm doing now is rooted or was inspired from a very young age of being introduced to different kinds of food ingredients. Yeah, so that's what I would say inspired my current research and career path.
Okay, awesome. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And on your side, Nelly, so what was your inspiration to kick off your sorghum and moringa journey?
Thank you for that. Our inspiration actually stemmed from our background in terms of how I grew up in my household. Whenever I would actually feel sick, or any of my siblings would fall sick, my mom would resort to boiling something. I vividly remember having to actually go to the doctor. And at times I actually would even say to my husband now that I thank God that I didn't grow up with everything to my proximity, and that we had to resort to the very bare minimum in order to sustain ourselves, because it has basically taught me how to use or utilize the bare minimum ingredients, or even resources that I'm presented with, to actually come up with something that is quite resourceful. And so it basically, my journey started after I had my second daughter, and I needed to lose weight. However, I was still breastfeeding. It was right at the peak of COVID-19. And I really wanted to go through the whole journey of being able to exclusively breastfeed without having to put any dents in terms of the quality of the milk that I was producing. So in a sense, I delved deep into the African indigenous ingredients to say, what can I use to ensure that the milk supply remains nutritional to the baby. In the meantime, I'm able to get rid of the issues that I'm facing, which was a high level of inflammation, water retention, and quite a high level of stress. In this regard, I actually came across avocado seeds, which was our first product. It was called Slim Tonic. It was basically an infusion of other herbs with avocado seeds, which actually helped to address inflammation, underlying inflammation, water retention, which were the main issues that I felt I was facing in this journey of trying to lose a little bit of weight. Is that I'm not necessarily carrying a lot of fat, but it has a lot to do with these underlying issues that are causing this inflammation to come out as a high level of fat, externally. And the product went very, very well, to a point where we were actually even supplying the Minister of Agriculture. She got involved at some point. We were featured in a book titled 66 Women Who Make a Difference in South Africa 66 years later, in commemoration to the women who marched to the Union building. And it was quite a footprint that we'd set out for ourselves. And we also got to a point where I said, I actually want to be an inclusive brand, and I don't want to limit myself. So I want to create something that the whole family can enjoy and also benefit from, which was then the birth of the instant porridge infused with moringa.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's very interesting indeed. And, that speaks, quite directly to why this platform of the Flavour Forum has been started, because there's so much going on with regards to, um, you know, indigenous ingredients and indigenous flavors and raw materials, but there wasn't really a meeting place. And that's what we are trying to achieve with this Flavour Forum platform, a place where insights, trends, research can be shared, and basically a repository can be created, of those who are leaders in the space and those who have information basically to share. So it's great to have the both of you here. So on your side, Zama, how do you see the African food industry evolving, like in the next 5 to 10 years? How and what do you think the indigenous raw materials? What role do you think they'll play in that space?
In that space, I see a lot of different segments in the flavor industry being like more popular, but a lot of I think we also have to consider the amount of AI automation that's going to take place in these in this food industry platform. So I believe in a few years' time, we might have explored a majority of the African or the indigenous species or plants that we have that we can incorporate into the food industry. I think it's already started slowly but surely, like the use of moringa, the use of now sorghum. So I believe that if we also take into consideration the amount of the processing techniques and how AI can also play a role, I feel like there will be a much bigger use of these kind of food materials. So I do see it heading to that direction.
Okay, no, that's awesome. And I really agree with that sentiment, because if you think about it, in the different categories or occasions that they are there, that are available for food product development specialists to basically come up with the innovations in. You got the big, like with what Nellis was done. She's playing in the breakfast space. Obviously there's lunch and then there's supper, but there's also hydration as an occasion and as a category. And there's energy boost. There's different categories basically. And what I've found with my research in these indigenous raw materials is that they are so widespread in their use, and that they can actually, find a role to play in across all currently available categories, or categories that are basically being exploited right now and being that we find basically in our grocery stores in the aisles, whether it's an energy drink or, whether it's something to do with the breakfast beverage, it's there's so much. Whether it's just a snack or something that, like a milkshake, whether it's, there's so much, and it can be both functional and nutritional, So I think, agreeing to what you just said, I think moving forward, there's going to be really an increased usage of these raw materials, especially as the academics spend time to try and unearth, the different uses, and foolproofing the applications that work best with these raw materials. And just on your side, Nelly, so where do you see? Okay, go ahead, Zama.
No, I just wanted to say, because we're seeing a lot of, there was an example made of moringa and matcha. Like, people are
yes,
acceptably, like, it's more consumer acceptable, but like, why not moringa? Because almost aligns, almost has similar like health benefits or nutritional benefits. So there's also a bit of a gap between, yes, there is a big use of these food sources, but like how are we now reaching the consumer base
Yes.
for
In terms
food?
of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how they are positioned in the consumer's mind. I think how
Yeah.
the consumer views the rose. Okay, yes, that is true. One thing that I've noticed as well is there's a information gap.
True.
Because if you think about matcha, I mean, matcha has found its way in coffee products. It's found its way across like different applications. And I think that's primarily the difference. I think a lot more people, which is surprising, but I think very true, know matcha and what matcha is more than what they know moringa is, and what
Yeah.
it can do for them. What are your views and thoughts about that, Neliswa?
I think you're quite right. I don't necessarily want to go into politicizing it, but I think in my point of view, remember, I had mentioned the initial product that we started with, and that was a Star and Stella product that actually had foolproof and was tried on myself as a founder. It worked tremendously. Before and after pictures were available, and also with the larger market that I was able to reach, people were actually seeing results. And we're talking about a product that was 100% organic, that had no risks in terms of any implications at a further stage, because it was 100% organic. Now, going into aligning it with what you've just asked, is the fact that the product failed because there was a limited access to testing labs, and there was a limited access to, in terms of the leaders that were involved. There's a huge gap in that space. It's almost as if, unless a product is made popular by the West, it cannot be scientifically accepted that a person can actually, or in this regard, a person of color can actually start or come up with an innovative idea from their kitchen top, as long as it doesn't come from a lab and it is not endorsed by any sort of Western support, then it cannot be that it is possible that one can do that. And in this regard, we were greatly failed by our leaders, and in particular, the leader that was currently involved in this project, being in agriculture. So if we don't bridge that gap, I think what we stand to see in terms of African innovative products that are founded from indigenous ingredients is that a lot of them can be and will be hijacked by a Western type of society in form or in disguise of investment opportunities, which is just basically just going to rewrite the whole story of exactly what this product is meant for. As you mentioned, we've got moringa in our proximity. Moringa is, I would say, even much better than matcha, even when it comes to a taste. In terms of moringa, in terms of flavor, you can play around with moringa and sort of readjust the flavor in a sense where it's not as strong. Whereas in matcha, it tends to be a little bit difficult. That sense of bitterness does remain. So it takes a peculiar taste. But because matcha has a high drive and backing of marketing, so the power of marketing and who the voice is coming from, as we see in the market space, the pioneers of this so-called matcha, we know the faces. So as opposed to moringa. So I think for me, in the next 5 to 10 years, we really need that collaborative relationships between the leaders who are in the space, whether it's agriculture, as well as the platforms, as Zanile has mentioned in her position, to really open up with that information to say, guys, we understand that you're starting with what you have and where you are, but our facilities are open for you to come and test further, for you to gain more evidence so that when you sell your product, you not only have that beautiful African story that is backing it up, but you've got scientific evidence, because this is where the world is leading to. Even when you mention AI, you've got to have some sort of scientific backing in whatever you're going to put online. So yes, in a sense, we are relying on AI as innovators who are new in the space and don't have as much capacity and exposure to testing labs. So we're relying on that information and formatting of sourcing formulations from online platforms. But also remember, the greatest minds in this industry are hidden in the roots of the rural areas, where even the bare minimum in terms of accessibility of online facilities, it still is still a challenge. So we need to bridge the gap, because the ideas are here. As a young person, I needed to find a product that can be 100% organic and that my children can enjoy, that actually has a benefit behind it, which is that instant sorghum moringa porridge, because I needed my kids to actually be able to benefit from the ingredients that I benefited from when I was growing up. Now, little did I know that the reason my mother would ferment the sorghum is because it's more potent in terms of the
Probiotics,
yes, so
microorganisms,
yes, so it was actually healthier in that sense. But she also didn't know that, because her mother used to do that. But then it's because the information was never filtered down and it was never documented.
Okay. Wow. No, that is so true, Lily. So I know, and I just want us to engage a little bit on some of the things that you mentioned. Because my belief is also that I think as Africans, we need to embrace these raw materials, largely. You know what I'm saying? For the world to basically start paying attention and looking to see that, you know what, these things here are happening and they are much better than their, Western or even Eastern counterparts. Because, I'll give you a simple example. Generally, whether you are using, I mean, there can be products. I know products, I just like mentioning brands. A product that had a very difficult time when it was launched to get into the retail space. And what the founders did was, when they realized that, okay, look, we're up against these international brands and all of that type of stuff, and the retailers are not quick to want to take us up, they produced as much as they could, and they took their basically product to the people, and started with it's called, I don't like the term, but like almost ambush marketing, and bootstrapping, where they
Yes.
then took their product and basically got it adopted and accepted by the people on the streets. Because at the end of the day, when a product builds a name for itself and basically is now widely used, at some point or at some level, the retailers do pay attention, and that's when the copycats come. Because once proof of concept is now in the open for everyone to see, then the copycats come and all of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's that element, of I think having to maybe have these products almost launch them at a level, or at a in a format that can be almost bootstrapped and forced into the the retail space, because I think in that way it because people do know these products. It's just that obviously, with distribution and all of that, it will be easier to reach more people through like a Pick and Pay or a ShopRite and all of that type of stuff. But right now, with avenues like TikTok, and WhatsApp and all these Facebook and all of that and online shopping and these trade shows and weekend markets and all of that type of stuff. I think there's also an opportunity basically to build the information and to build the adoption of these products, because clinics, there's a large clinic network, public clinic network, where expecting mothers, take their children, I mean, those could be platforms to distribute versus a normal pick and pay and that type of stuff, But I don't know. That's just a thought that came through my mind as you're speaking, because I think as people in our position, I think we need to really find ways to really get these products out there, because the people do need them, but there's going to be we're going to need to find ways to really get these products out there that the people can start using them. I don't know, what do you think about that,
Yeah,
Zama?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I also think, yeah, that's how we should really go about it. Yeah, I don't.
And Nelly, so any
Yes. So if I were to chime in there, I think for me, we really need to get to a point also as African people, where we are open to collaboration, because in as much as it would be so fantastic to go and market the products on social media platforms, that's when you sort of kind of set yourself up for failure, especially if you are not ready for production to that scale. Because then if once you start letting your customers down, you then, cutting yourself short before you even get an opportunity to prove yourself on a larger scale, such as retail and a large distribution, such as like DC level. So for me, one thing that I would really stress is that we need to have a platform as young African innovators where we can go and pitch to potential investors, and also to appeal to people who have already achieved at a higher scale. I mean, even when you look at industries in the beauty sector, such as, I mean, I will go as far as mentioning this, maybe a Portia M, for instance.
Mhm.
There's only so much that you can do if your vision is limited only to say, I'm in the skin and beauty industry, and that's it. First of all, you've already achieved in terms of the scale of distribution. So the contacts are already there. You're already set in terms of the production side because the facility is there, and your access in terms of in the financial institution is so I don't want to say easy, but it's more accessible for a person in that scale who has proven a concept. Why can't you venture down and say, okay, I'm interested now because I'm in the space of retail. Let me start branching out this brand and adopt smaller businesses that have proven concepts so that I can put them onto this distribution scale and then see another way of or another avenue of growing my revenue. So we don't have individuals who, especially in that level, who are able to think like a Tiger Brands, like a Pioneer Foods. I mean, Tiger Brands has they go as far as producing camphor, and that wasn't their star product. They're everywhere: food, candles, detergents, and toiletries. So where can we find Africans who are already established, who can come together and say, okay, let us adopt these individuals who are actually dealing with products that we know and ingredients that we know we grew up with, and we can vouch for those because they are needed in the market, come together and make sure that these people are able to get onto this distribution bus that we have already established and secured for ourselves. So I think until we get to have those conversations, it's still going to be very, very challenging for up and coming innovators to really access the space and the platforms that are really needed to actually raise real funds. TikTok can raise funds. I mean, let's not downplay it. But the problem is, how are you then able to keep up in terms of the production and the service delivery? It becomes very, very difficult. And delving into those social media platforms, it's also quite challenging because remember, we're coming into this as producers. We are not content creators. We are not marketing and sales specialists. I can sell a product if I'm selling it to you face to face because I can speak about, I can touch on factors that can inspire you to buy. But if I now go on social media and start trying to sell as Neliswa as an individual, bearing in mind the kind of cancel culture that is out there, people are going to quickly go and dig up what I've said 10 years ago in the political space, and immediately my brand is gone. So we don't have facilities, even the agencies that are put there by government in order to assist businesses, they don't quite understand that the grasp in terms of marketing, generating sales, and the back end of managing your production. So, yeah.
No, indeed, I get you. Because I mean, running an organization is a complex thing, like what you're saying. And there are different areas that come together, and none of them can be ignored because all of them play a part in bringing the product to the market. I appreciate your mentioning or investors. I think that's going to be something we'll look to do in one of the upcoming shows. To have almost like whether an investment house or a known investor in the space to come and just share, and maybe we can look to engage them on some of the things that you have raised, Neliswa. But I just want to transport us a little bit, almost past this point that we've been discussing for the last few minutes, and look a little bit forward, right? I know, Zama, that you spent the last, I think, 6 or 8 months overseas. I think it was in the Netherlands on a academic project there that you went. Was it the Netherlands?
No, it was in Canada. I was in Canada.
Oh, sorry, Canada. Oh, Canada. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. I know you just got back. Yeah. So I just want to find out, like, from like your obviously engaging people on what you're doing and all of that type of stuff. What role do you think African ingredients can play in shaping like global trends? If we're to look over and almost create this utopia of some of these things we just spoke about a few minutes ago have been sorted out, and then we found like maybe 6 or 7 breakthroughs. Right now we've got rooibos, right? Rooibos almost gone all the way, right? Because it's now a globally basically accepted product, stems from South Africa. You know what I'm saying? And like some of the things Neliswa was talking about. How? Hi, Zama. So I was just going to ask you, what role do you think African ingredients can play in shaping global trends? I think we've lost Zama there for a second. I mean, Neliswa, judging on your resume, I know you well traveled as well, and I'm sure you've spoken about people about what you've passionately articulated here in this show today. What are your views like on, if we're to look beyond these things that we've just been speaking about in the last few minutes, and try and look to basically think, what role would African ingredients play in shaping global trends, taking a leaf from rooibos, what
Yeah, so
rooibos
right.
has been able to achieve.
I think at this point in time, looking at what is happening at a global scale, I would say Africa has actually become trendy on so many levels, especially South Africa. I think for some reason we've found ourselves being at the center stage in the global space, whether it comes to the way we dance, the music that we listen to, and I think in terms of the organic or the natural wellness space, our voices are being listened to more because now people are becoming more well read and well informed in terms of the originators or the blueprint of natural products. And in a space where people are now looking at how beneficial the intake of the food that they're actually sourcing, they're looking at the benefits rather than the how they receive it in terms of their palates. So the fact that we are able to narrate these stories and break down the actual ingredients, using our basic African footprint and understanding of nature and how it works in bringing forth these amazing products and ingredients. I think we are ready to take center stage. I think the waves are shifting. I think a lot of people are turning more into African medicine. A lot of people are turning towards Chinese medicine as well. In this regard, I'm referring to it as in sort of one scope as natural ingredients, even to treat or use as remedies. So I think if packaged properly, if marketed, or if there's an intentional marketing behind our products, I do think they're received quite well. I mean, there's so many spaces where I've spoken, even in European markets, people are so hungry for natural products. People are so hungry for actual food, and they are eating for meaning, and they're willing to listen to these stories. The only challenge is how to get the products to them, which I think we are close to actually bridging that gap. But I do think that African indigenous products or cuisine are actually, yeah, quite trendy at this point in time, and actually well received globally.
True.
Indeed. No, thank you for that, Nelly. So Zama, before we lost you there, I was asking. Yeah, so I passed the question on to Nelly. So I was just basically trying to get an understanding from where you looking from in terms of what you think the role African ingredients can play in shaping global trends, taking a leaf from what rooibos has been able to achieve. I mean, in my head, I'm even thinking it would be nice to, use a platform almost like the Springboks, because Springboks are, I mean, everyone knows the Springboks. It doesn't matter where you're from, type of thing. But I mean, what are your thoughts? What? Yeah.
I totally agree with Nelisa when she says the current African like traditional cuisines or food ingredients are already shaping like the global food trends. Like people abroad are always interested in terms of like what we're eating here because they obviously know it's all like natural, organic. So they're always reaching out for those kind of things. They're always wanting those kind of things, because for even myself, what I was working with in Canada was moringa, which was not really explored. So people globally are always interested in terms of the rich diversity, the authenticity of flavors from Africa. So I think it's already like shaping global trends all over. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And then a big part of all of this as well, because I know part of the difficulty that some of these raw materials or ingredients are facing, especially with when you try and export them into Europe. There's these requirements that have to be met, and part of them have to do with sustainability. There are these requirements that have been put in place that look to make sure that everything that is done in a sustainable way, and that the biodiversity is not destroyed. Like in terms of natural harvesting of some of these raw materials is not basically supported, especially in the European market, where if you are going to be naturally harvesting, maybe let's say, just for a lack of a better example, maybe moringa, that it needs to be done sustainably and all of that type of stuff, and that will need to be proven for you to get actually the permits to export into like Europe and that type of stuff, from a raw material perspective, and how can basically the African food industry prioritize sustainability and social responsibility while driving growth and innovation? How do you think this can be achieved? I'll start with you, Zama.
I feel like the first part of it is to actually start working with those people, in like farmers and producers, so that we know. Yeah, I feel like working with farmers and manufacturers is the first start of trying to tackle that technical challenge between exports and imports. So I think encouraging or opening their minds in these food ingredients, and also trying to also accommodate the, instead of trying to changing the standardized processing protocols, maybe adjusting to new ones and so forth. But I feel like the first step into trying to tackle these challenges is working with these local people, farmers, and all the manufacturers. I think that's a starting point in order to try and tackle these kind of challenges. Yeah.
Okay. No, indeed, because something else that has come up is that our because of our climate here, certain things or certain crops that we are focused on and try so hard to get right, almost like even maize and wheat are not necessarily the best crops for our climate and also our soil, if I can put it that way, and how some of these ingredients that are almost harvested from the wild and are not, there isn't really a formal farming, effort being made to farm these things, and to use some of the land that is being used for, trying to force these crops that don't really, that require so much water to grow and so much. Some of these things, they require less water, but I mean, really have an export potential and a revenue potential for the country that exceeds the ones that are praised and spoken so much about. I think there's really an opportunity there.
Yeah, because most of these indigenous and underutilized food sources that we get, it's food ingredients that are not like, what you're saying, like forced in terms of, oh, we need to grow this. Like are native to the environment or the land. So it's something that, that, for example, the speckworm, it dies in the winter, but throughout, like from July to like April, we have it growing abundantly. So yeah, that's why I'm saying working with like farmers, and in order for us to like maybe reach a mass production or a mass import, it's the only way is to obviously work with them and introduce, maybe like, I don't know, like introduce them to these indigenous food crops so that they know that why grow spinach when we know that there's an abundance of this growing that's similar to, yeah.
Okay. No, thank you so much. I'll just take a view as well from Neliswa, but just as we wrap up, or let me just take what are your thoughts around that, Neliswa?
So my thoughts around this would obviously be I would go back to collaboration in terms of the three most important institutions, which for me, it's the testing labs, it's the farmers, and it's the producers. I think everybody needs to, every once in a while, have a bit of a refresher sort of course, because farming technology is also changing with the times, because we are readjusting, as you say, to these ever-changing weather patterns. Therefore, the techniques and the kind of machineries that is required in order to keep up with that. That technology or those technologies need to be updated, and people need to be kept informed or kept in the loop. When it comes to testing labs, and also ensuring that we kind of avoid these it's minor technicalities, but they can cause huge issues, because I could package a big and stellar product locally. Now, when it's time for us to expand, I kind of reach that a glitch, because then it means I would have to change a certain ingredient in the actual product, which will then change the whole concept of why the product is wanted in the first place abroad. So if we are able to then tackle that challenge from the foundation phase, from the innovative stage of it, that would require the testing labs to also be part and parcel of that. And also, if they keep a database, I know it's kind of a big ask, but a database of the normal standards and requirements, right, in their system, so that when I come with my nutritional analysis and ingredients board, you can immediately say, this formulation is okay, but it will work for region A, B, and C, because if you're going to export, if you're planning to export, so that should be one of the questions, is that I get you want to formulate this product. Are you planning on exporting? And if you are, which regions are you planning to do that? Even though you're still at an SMME stage or level, you still need to be thinking ahead to that point, so that when you approach that testing lab, they're able to immediately tell you that it's all good and well, but the formulation that you have, these are the hindrances that you're going to face. You won't be able to export to countries A, B, and C, because they don't allow this certain or specific ingredient. You can, however, adjust it to A, B, and C, so that even from the foundation phase, you at least have an idea that we're starting at this lower level, but by the time we're ready to reach that standard, everything is complete and it's standard, and it's been scientifically proven in that sense. Now, when it comes to using ingredients that are sustainable, I think this also goes into entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs and producers. We need to really be open to information and research. Just because it sounds good to me at this point in time, it doesn't mean that it can be sustainable, because the particular crop that I'm probably using might not grow at a vast amount in certain seasons. So what is the backup plans? There's so many things that we face, like sugar beans shortages and so forth.
Yes.
So in this space, going into sorghum, we actually saw that it's quite a sustainable crop because it grows whether in wet or dry patterns, weather patterns. So globally, sustainably, it has been proven, and it actually has been named the war crop, because in times of difficulties such as facing a war and food insecurities, sorghum can actually thrive. And it also the benefits of its nutritional capacity as well. So
no. So look, unfortunately, we need to start wrapping up, and I really appreciate this contributions that you have made to this ongoing discussion. I'd like to thank you so much for availing your time and also coming to share your ideas. I mean, that this is why we brought entrepreneur and academia here, because I think those are the two groups that are going to help this argument move forward. With regards to the labs, I think another platform would be the universities, because the universities as well are a repository of a lot of information. And I think, this is an ongoing discussion. I'd like to thank you so much. Thank all the people that have taken the time to listen to this discussion. And please keep a lookout for, the next date, and when we carry on talking about, our indigenous ingredients and how best we can move them forward. So thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend, and have a lovely Friday further.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Melvin.
Okay.